Right then, okay, so Beth Newton's one-page pitch. That camera looks like it might be. Yeah, it should be okay. Right, tell me about your song choice, why you've chosen that, and if you give us a sort of idea of the overall concept you're thinking of.
Okay, the song I chose is called When We Were Young. It's by Passenger. I chose Passenger because for my practice video I used a song by Passenger, and the way the artist works, he doesn't really do like narrative-based videos for his songs. He normally just uses a live version that he's done. He posts a video of him just singing live. So I didn't really have I wasn't influenced by any ideas in the video that he'd all done. And my idea for When We Were Young is that it's sort of looking back at when you was a child and then sort of like growing older. So that was my idea that I wanted to do. I wanted to create this reflective, nostalgic sort of tone throughout the video.
Okay, so reflective, nostalgic. How are you going to show a passage of time?
Because what I wanted to use was old photographs, because I have loads of old photographs, old videos from when I was really little, or just even stuff from like a few years ago. I thought I could like edit for like colour-wise to make them seem older, and then contrast it with videos that I've taken now with my friends. That sort of idea.
Okay. In terms of, so quite a nostalgic, sentimental video, I'm guessing. In terms of sort of, well, couple of issues there I just want to sort of you to think around really. One of them being, the viewer might watch it and go, well, she's still young. So kind of how are you, who are you aiming it towards, and kind of, and what sort of nostalgia is what I'm getting at really, because people who are often nostalgic tend to be my age and older.
My idea is that looking back at when I was young, but also growing older and going forward, so I'll have like bits of me studying, trying to progress, and that sort of idea to it. So it can be accessible from everyone, showing that yes, I am still young, but I am still growing, and I have ideas of where I'm going. That sort of idea to it.
I think one of the things you could capture there is that, I mean, let's face it, when you get to my age, it's sort of like you kind of, I don't know, it's like a slow decline, isn't it? But the difference between being 35 and 45 is normally not that great. Whereas obviously, the difference between being, say, a year 7 and a year 13 is a lot of change and a lot of kind of, as you say, growing through that thing. So maybe that might be your kind of best angle in terms of kind of, who you're aiming it at. Who would you say your target audience is?
I think my target audience is maybe people my age, also people who are older, people who feel this idea and sentiment, and who enjoy looking back and just really like that sort of idea of nostalgia.
Okay. Any particular age group you think it would appeal to?
I'm thinking maybe if we go with my age, sort of 17 to maybe mid-20s sort of age, so they're still in that sort of young period where they can look back and think, oh, things are different from when I was that age. Also, I have a lot of my life still left to go forward to.
Okay, so quite a positive nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's about change really, more than sort of like, a sort of, if you like, a mourning for lost youth or something, it's that kind of thing. Okay, good stuff. Second thing, and I've sort of spoken to you briefly about this before, Passenger's a male vocalist. We're going to be believing that you're the artist. How are we going to get around that?
See, what I did with my practice videos that I mentioned on the website, that the actual singers don't show themselves in the video, they use an actor. So I thought I could use a similar sort of idea when doing my main task.
It's more going to be a narrative, an actor, rather than us believing that's the actual artist. And in terms of how will that work in terms of the CD cover and the website, because obviously the CD cover is for the album. The website is for the artist and to promote the artist. So how will that work in terms of that?
I think I would use sort of like a scenic sort of shots as well, like rather than like focusing on like a face, because the artists don't show their faces. So my idea would be using like scenic shots or shots of lights or things like that.
Okay, and then on your website, obviously you could put your 1 minute practice piece, but you've got the same actor in 2 different songs by the same artist. So is there a motif or a sort of theme that you can work that into?
Probably.
I think there will be, yes, but I think you just have to think about that in terms of kind of how it sort of, you want to make it clear to people, for example, who are coming across it for the first time, that it's not claiming that this is the artist. Okay, how we work around that is one of the things. I mean, the vocal, is it quite clearly a male vocal? Do you think?
No, I don't. I feel like if you've never heard Passenger before, you might not automatically go, oh, that's a male vocalist.
Okay.
A bit of like a confusion.
Can I suggest a research task you do is, and you're going to have to try and try to think how you'll do this, is try and get about 5 or 6 people who perhaps don't know the band, and just ask them, play them one of the songs, or play them a song, and say, do you think this is a male vocal or a female vocal? Okay, because if they come back and they say, or if they say not sure, then I think with that, what you can do is you can actually be the artist. Does that make sense? Yeah. So just something to think about. You might want to do that. You can even, this is another thing, you can even, when you get the song, pitch it up a little bit, just ever so slightly. So not so it gets faster, but just so the pitch is a little bit higher. But it's just some things to think about, because what I don't want is you to have a very good music video and then people be saying, oh, or the examiner or me thinking, well, don't believe this is the artist and don't quite work out how this works with the artist. So it will just require a bit of explaining and some kind of creative thinking around it. But I'm sure you're more than capable of that. Okay. So, in terms of settings, where are you thinking?
I think I'll have various locations, my house being one of them. I think I'd use a school to show clips with my friends. I'd like to do another scene in a sort of open forest sort of area like I did with my first task. And then just sort of outdoors and sort of places from my village, because I've lived there my entire life. That would probably be the link with the idea of nostalgia and stuff.
Yeah. And even, you can even be sort of lots of establishing shots and cutaways of certain locations in the village that kind of mean something to you. Okay. Who are you going to have to help you with this? In terms of the filming, in terms of the editing, because obviously you're going to be acting in it, and obviously you're going to be filming it.
Yeah.
Have you got somebody who's going to help you with the...
Yes, I do have people who can help me with it. I've asked my friends if they wanted to be in it, if they wanted to help me, and they have agreed to do that.
Okay, so obviously when it comes to planning that, just be thinking around some stuff like that. Okay, it sounds like a really good idea. It sounds like a nice... Are we going for warm, fuzzy nostalgia, or are we going for... Yeah. Oh God, those are the days, and now everything's crap.
No, a more positive sort of style.
More positive. Okay, good stuff. So kind of like the theme of moving on and the theme of sort of change and everything else. Okay. So just those couple of things to think about really in terms of how you're going to kind of represent a believable artist, despite it, the artist being a different gender. That's one thing I wanted to think about. And I've forgotten the other thing I was going to ask you to think about. What was it? Yes, how you create a believable passage of time. One of the things I would do with stuff like that is I would be tempted to, if there's some shots or even just one or two sequences from your practice video, use those. If you want to create a passage of time as well, she doesn't have to tap loudly, doesn't she? The other thing I perhaps want you to think about as well in terms of showing a passage of time is maybe think about getting your storyboard sorted and filming it over the course of a few months, because I think it's always, it will show it anyway, whether it's what you're wearing or the weather outside or events or such and such. So take little opportunities to film little bits, and we can end up with a compilation of kind of a passage of time that which fits the theme of it. Do you have any questions at all?
No.
All right. Anyway, sounds like a good idea. Go for it.
Okay.
That's it.